Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of Prep Rally, the Daily Journal's high school sports podcast. I'm your host, Brad Locke, and with me today, a special guest host, David Wheeler. How's it
Hi,
going, David?
pretty good, Brad. I'm glad to be here today.
Filling in for Gene Phelps. He's a busy man, so thanks for David.
Recruiting day. I'm sure he's got other places to be.
It is National Signing Day, so that's a big topic today. Thank you all for tuning in. Of course, this is a podcast and a webcast, so if you're watching this live but decided, hey, I don't want to look at those guys' faces, then just want to listen to it, it'll be up in a podcast form later on at preprally.djournal.com. You can also listen to it on iTunes or your podcast app. And if you're listening to this, but hey, you want to go watch it, we'll have the replay up and available at djournal.com. So thanks for joining us today. We do have a lot to cover here. Mostly high school basketball, and in fact, mostly Tupelo basketball. David covers Tupelo for us and has for a while, and both basketball teams, David, doing awfully well. Let's start with the boys, shall we? The Golden Wave, 21-2 on the year, 3-1 in Division 1-6A, and got a big game at Columbus tonight, David. They beat them last week at home, 56-52. Got to go on the road and do it. Got to face Robert Woodard and that group. And do it a second time. So let's talk about that game. Let's take a look at it, David. What do you expect? Last time they, Columbus, a bigger team. Tupelo was patient. They got some guys that can shoot. They're small, but they can shoot. What's kind of the key to this game?
Yeah, from Tupelo's standpoint, the key is their focus. I mean, they have to play each possession very patiently. They can't take quick shots sometimes, and they have to hit the boards hard, which you might not think is easy for a small team like Tupelo. Their biggest starter is usually only 6'3". And their best rebounder is 6'1", Nick Ratliff, by the way. But they have to hit the boards hard, even if they can't grab the ball initially off the boards. Knock it to someone else. Keep it out of the hands of Columbus's big people. And Tupelo shot a nice percentage. I don't have that number in front of me. Tupelo shot a nice percentage in the win. They have to continue shooting good to keep Columbus from getting out on the break to a degree. From Columbus's standpoint, Columbus has had a lot of success at home. Take Starkville, for example. They have split with Starkville this year, beat Starkville in Columbus, lost to Starkville in Starkville. Hopefully, from Tupelo's standpoint, that trend doesn't continue. Tupelo can go ahead and win this game. It would be a big win for the Golden Wave in the fact they would clinch Division 2 6A with the win. They still have a game with South Panola next week. They could lose that South Panola game. Not that Jeff Norwood would like that, but they could still lose that South Panola game and win the division if they win tonight. Trey Jenkins, the leading scorer for the Golden Wave. Hereford been playing a nice point guard, a junior, stepping in his first full-time duty this season. He's played a nice point guard for the Golden Wave. Again, I mentioned Nick Ratliff, the littlest big man in 6A probably. A key for Tupelo is the availability of E.J. Fuller. He's the second leading scorer on the Wave. Did not play in the Columbus game. He did not play in their win against Hernando last week either. Little concussion protocol he suffered in their first game with Hernando. He was almost cleared and had a little dizzy, doing a little running. Interesting to see if he plays tonight. Whether he does or doesn't, Tupelo needs him for the division tournament. So he'll be healthy down the road when they play.
Yeah, this is 2-6A. I believe I misspoke. I said 1-6A earlier. My apologies. Anyway,
no problem.
So yeah, you've and that game is tonight. If you're wondering why tonight, well, a lot of games got moved either up to Monday or delayed till today or tomorrow because of the inclement weather we had. So it's a rare Wednesday night game in the high school ranks.
Gives Tupelo a break because they have perhaps their biggest, most consistent rival, Shannon, at Shannon Friday. So it gives them a break between a big division game and a big rivalry game.
Exactly. Going back to Tupelo's last game, last week they beat Hernando by 30. That avenged the only division loss they had, which was a 1-point loss.
At Hernando.
Yeah, and this one at home dominated by 30.
Trey Jenkins was the only player in double figures with, I think he had 26 points. Great, but it was a total team effort in the fact. I mean, you had several like 8 or 9 points too.
Sure.
And that got them in the position of making the Columbus game very, if they had lost to Hernando a second time, winning the division would have been out of the realm of possibility.
Sure.
So, obviously a big win for their psyche. Even Tupelo's other loss was to Memphis Mitchell. They came back their next game with a big win. So, they've been able to rebound, and now it's just a matter of maintaining focus for the Golden Wave boys.
3-1 in division. They clinched tonight with a win. Can still clinch even if they lose.
No, they have to beat Columbus, but that gives them a margin of error versus South Panola next week.
Right. That's what it is. Okay, so you lose tonight. That's 2 losses. But win tonight, definitely clinch. And beyond that, what does it do for them?
We have about a week and a half left in the regular season. Like I said, they playing at Shannon Friday. They have the South Panola game, I believe it's Monday, and then they finish up the regular season slate with Corinth, which is walking perhaps a little unexpectedly through Division 1 4A. Usually they split with Shannon or with Pontotoc a game, but they are undefeated in that particular division. Good test for both Corinth and Tupelo as they prepare for Division Tournament week the next week.
Is this season for Tupelo a little bit surprising? 21-2. Jeff Norwood, good coach, and I'm sure we expected them to do well, but 21-2. I don't know how many people really saw that coming.
You asked, you talk to somebody on the team that wears blue and gold, they're probably not surprised for the most part. But, somebody like us from the outside looking in, considering they lost Antonio Green, one of the best shooters Tupelo's had in recent years. Yeah. Yes, it is surprising to answer the basic of your question. They lost some other key people, but you've had key people step up. But Trey Jenkins, I thought, was their second best player last year, and he stepped into the lead role very unassumingly. Seems to be a great kid. Nick Ratliff had key moments last year, and that's carried over this year. As I said, he's a leading rebounder on the team. They have people like Herford and Fuller. And I say they're a short team. They have Jet Johnson, he's at 6'3". He was the leading tackler on the football team.
That's right.
He adds some bulk when they need a little presence inside. And they also have Kyrie Bradford at 6'7". He was a linebacker on the football team. Both of Johnson and Bradford had broken hands, I think, basically coming out of football season. Bradford's took a little bit longer to heal. He didn't get on the court until January.
Yeah.
But that gives them a little bit inside presence. I think Bradford signed with Jackson State today, as a matter of fact, in football. But but yes, they are a short team. They're not going to impress you coming off the bus, but they're deep, obviously very deep at guard.
Yeah.
A lot of moving parts. One other name I would like to mention, Kylan Hamilton, may be one of the best scorers that comes off the bench. If he's hot, lights out for Tupelo.
Yeah. So a big game tonight at Columbus, and the girls have a big game too at Columbus, and they won last week. I think a 5-point win against the Columbus girls. So Tupelo's girls 17-6 overall, 4-0 in the division. Coming off a big win over Red Bay, David. That's a big win because Red Bay four straight state titles in Alabama. They've beaten a lot of area teams that are
a lot of good area teams.
Yeah, and Tupelo, it's a non-division game. It ultimately, quote, doesn't matter, but it seems like they still got the momentum going.
I think you would say that the Lady Wave success this season is maybe even more surprising than the boys, and the boys had the more impressive record.
Yeah,
because the Lady Wave graduated 6-7 seniors, 4 or 5 of those who've been integral for 3 seasons, and the only player coming back with experience for the Lady Wave was Alicia Shearer. She's a North-South all-star selection already this year, averaging around 20 points. Interestingly enough, she's coming off the bench for the Lady Wave right now, which the Lady Wave did not have a senior on their roster. And with Shearer coming off the bench, they're starting sophomores, freshmen, and an 8th grader.
Yeah.
The 8th grader being Shemaya Carruthers, and the key freshman for the Wave is Delencia Coheim, who's the leading scorer that starts. She's averaging 14, 15 points a game.
And you don't see that as much at the 6A level. You'll see it at places like Ingomar and Myrtle. You'll see the 8th and 9th graders play big roles.
Interestingly enough, you mentioned Ingomar. In December, Tupelo played Ingomar. Ingomar totally dominated that game. They out-executed the Lady Wave that game. But the interesting fact about that game was neither Ingomar or Tupelo had a senior on their roster.
both
That
young
is
teams.
very unusual, but anyway.
Yeah, both very young teams there. So Tupelo playing Columbus tonight, 4-0 in division. Again, they can clinch, I believe.
Yes, in a way, it's all about high school bracketology leading into the division tournament. Both the Tupelo boys and girls, you analyze their division. You want to be on the opposite side of the bracket from Columbus.
Yeah.
And then you want an easy game the very first game. So win the division, you get that less stressful game the first game of division tournament in Tupelo's case.
Okay, so good stuff from Tupelo Hoops there from David Wheeler tonight at Columbus. We'll have coverage in tomorrow's paper. You're going to be there, correct? Maybe. We'll have some coverage, put it that way. Soccer playoffs. Let's move on to soccer. The girls. Let's look at going back to earlier in the week. South Pontotoc defeating North Pontotoc 8-0. 8-0. So they reached the finals of the 1A, 2A, 3A classification for the fourth straight season. Doing a good job over there at South Pontotoc. Several games today, state semifinals. In 4A girls, Richland will be at Lafayette. 4A boys, Florence visits Amory. 5A girls, a couple of area teams doing battle, Saltillo and Oxford. And then on Thursday, Tupelo's boys are in the 6A semifinals against Madison Central. Tupelo girls were knocked out the last round. So
by Madison Central.
So maybe the boys can get some revenge for them. That is scheduled for, again, Thursday. So soccer playoffs, state semifinals, and then after that, of course, the championship round. So look for coverage there as well.
Just to mention, I off the air before we got on camera, I mentioned this might be the busiest week of high school sports, and the fact that we're talking soccer playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking the end of the regular season and playoffs for basketball. This was the first week, Monday, that the spring sports like baseball, fast pitch softball, all the spring sports could officially start practicing or practice past the end of school. So, I mean, this is just a crazy week of high school sports, which is fun.
Oh, yeah, it is fun. And I meant to ask you when we were talking basketball, we talked about Tupelo, but there are a couple of other divisions in basketball that are certainly worth keeping an eye on as we kind of wind down the regular season.
Yeah.
What kind of sticks out to you there?
You know what? Okolona beat Baldwin boys Monday night. Non-division game, but 2A jumble, throw in Calhoun City, maybe even Ingomar, which Baldwin did beat last week. 2A is going to be very interesting going to the playoffs, and that was a big division win. I mean, a big confidence win for Okolona. It was a 1-point win for Okolona over Baldwin Monday.
Yeah.
Now, Okolona does play Calhoun City, which I mentioned earlier. Calhoun City goes in that game, I believe, 18-3. Oklahoma's going in 19-4 as a good 2A matchup coming up Friday.
Yeah.
Maybe jumping over to the girls real quick, a key game, Boonville and New Site girls coming up Thursday. I believe it's on schedule for Friday, but they moved it up to Thursday. That's going to decide Division 1 3A. Backing up just real quick, that was Division 4 2A. I was talking about Okolona and Calhoun City playing. And in the girls, Boonville and New Site girls. New Site, the defending 2A champ in 3A this year. Boonville played in the championship game last season, won 3A 2 seasons ago. They're both undefeated in Division 1 3A. Big game right there on the girls' side.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, 1-3A. That's a tough division right there, no doubt.
And if I just said one other thing, Saltillo, jumping back to the boys in Division 2 5A, Saltillo beat Oxford last night. Now, that is a crazy division where you have Oxford and Saltillo probably the 2 and 3 seeds, and West Point boys are currently undefeated in the division, and they lost their first 8 games of the season. That is totally crazy. Much credit to West Point for figuring out what to do, to be successful. West Point and Saltillo do play Friday, I believe. So, but I think West Point pretty much has the division sewn up. I mean, but it's a fun time of year.
Sure, certainly is. Speaking of fun times, let's do one of our fun favorite features, Athletes of the Week. We do this every week here on Prep Rally, a female and a male athlete of the week. That's someone who's performed awfully well the past few days. Girls Athlete of the Week, Haley Vick, Pine Grove. She's a sophomore guard. had a really nice couple of last games. On Friday, in a win against Wheeler, Vic had 15 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 assists. And then this past Monday against Biggersville, another win, she had 27 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists.
That we probably just don't have enough time to talk about all the big games, but Pine Grove beating Biggersville, that tied the two in Division 1A on the girls' side, which obviously gives the it gives an edge to Pine Grove in that division. But still, I mean, both teams sitting there, I believe, at 8-1 the division,
something like that. Yeah, yeah. So Pine Grove having another good season. So Haley Vick, sophomore guard, our female athlete of the week. Male athlete of the week, you've heard of this guy probably, Madarius Hobson. Holka, sophomore guard. I mean, he lights it up pretty much every night, David. But these last 3 games from this past week, he's averaging 30 points a game. He had 33 points on Monday against Hamilton. Going back to Saturday, he had 22 against East Webster. And then the night before against Smithville, 35 points. Madarius Hobson, one of the best players in the area, one of the best in the state. Again, just a sophomore. He's a cousin of Robert Woodard, the kid of Columbus,
whose father played at Holka. So that Holka, more of a Holka tie-in right there. His father held the state scoring record for a couple of decades. So
Madarius is going to be fun to watch over the next 2 seasons after this. He's got a lot of promise, and I imagine you could make him player of the week. A lot of weeks, 3 points a game over the last 3 contests. So congrats to Madarius Hobson and Haley Vick, our athletes of the week. And that brings the show to a close. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Again, if you're watching this but want to listen to it later, you can check it out on iTunes, your podcast app, or at preprally.djournal.com. Hey, send us an email. Why don't you? preprally@journalinc.com with your questions or comments. Might even mention them on the air. And David Wheeler, you're on Twitter, aren't you?
Yes, Old Man David.
At Old Man David. Old Man.
I feel my age sometimes, but going out and covering high school sports in there, it really does keep me young. It really does, in all seriousness.
It's funny though. It's like Frank DeFord once said. It's kind of covering sports. It's kind of like the whole Dorian Gray thing. You keep getting older, everybody around you stays the same age. I felt that myself. Anyway, I'm on Twitter at Brad Locke, and we will be back next Wednesday. Talk more high school sports. Thanks for tuning in.